All right, here we
Okay.
go. Yep.
So today's session is the ultimate guide to creating successful social media strategy. My name is Orzala Quddusi. I'll be your facilitator. I am with Make It Happen Services. It is a social media agency based in Durham Region that specializes in social media management, paid advertising, coaching, and training. And social media strategy is something that is really close to my heart because I see a lot of small businesses struggle with it. They actually just completely avoid talking about it or wanting to work on it. So with doing this session, I'm end up basically hoping that I can get a lot of people to actually want to be interested in having a social media strategy because it's something that is very important in their overall social media presence as well. Other than that, I do have a lot of familiar faces here, but for some people that don't know me, I'm also part of the other side of BACD as well. I am the team lead with Digital Main Street, and I do help small businesses in Durham Region with that program as well. Other than that, a little bit about my background is in traditional marketing, and I have kind of, over the last 9 years, I've kind of combined that with the digital marketing. And in terms of who we work with, the clients that we work with are mainly small businesses who are looking to obviously grow their social media presence. And also recently, I work with a lot of clients that are looking to basically utilize paid Google advertising, which has been something that's been on a lot of people's mind as well. So what exactly is a social media strategy? The reason for some of you, you may already know that, but the reason I want to kind of emphasize on it, what it is when we have clients that comes to us, they may talk about bits and pieces or want to focus off a social media strategy. For them, a social media strategy, especially in the small business world, is something that's scary because they think it may require a lot of hours. It may be complicated. It could be a long documented page that they may not look at it. It's basically a plan that outlines your social media goals and the tactics that you will use, how to achieve them. And then there's also the metrics aspect of it to measure your performance. Now, this is something that's lacking with a lot of our businesses, is the fact that there's no plan. So we're all focused on what to post, but nobody really has a plan in terms of what we're doing or the reason behind posting or the reason behind being on different social media platforms. It's more like a lot of the business owners have the shiny basically object syndrome with platforms where they may see somebody on it, or they may go to a workshop and somebody mentions about a specific platform, then they want to be on it. The goal is, if you have a social media strategy, that you're focused because you already have goals, you have platforms that aligns with those goals, and you know exactly what you will be doing on those platforms. And then you have metrics that you can measure your success of those platforms. So it definitely keeps you focused. So what are the benefits of having a strategy? Now, a strategy does not have to be 100 pages long. It can be very simple, but you want it to be very specific and concise to what you're looking for. So that's something that I want to emphasize on, because a lot of us steer away from it for that reason. So one of the biggest benefits is it creates direction. So like I mentioned, it really gives you a focused plan of where you want to focus on. So when other platforms and the other noise that are happening in the background when it comes to social media, it doesn't distract you. So you're not stretching yourself too thin and then wanting to be basically present on all platforms. It will help you remain active. So inconsistency is big among small business owners a lot of the times, because we don't have a plan when it comes to social media. We just want to basically post when we have time. So this will definitely help you with that aspect of it. And like I mentioned, it will keep you consistent as well, because you already have a plan in place and the content ready to go that aligns with that plan. And then also it will help you to be prepared for everything as well, because you've done your market research, you've done your audience analysis, all of that, your goals and how clear you are and how it aligns with your overall business goals. It will have you to be prepared for anything that comes your way in terms of your business, or if you decide to add additional services. And then you can measure and improve. Again, based on my experience, 9 years in the business, I just see a lot of small business owners, just like a lot of them, when I have conversations with accountants, they want to do, or bookkeepers, they don't want to look at their numbers. They also struggle to look at their analytics of their social media. which means that it doesn't really help if you're just posting and putting out there without looking and seeing if the type of content that really helps or not, what you're doing basically. And when you look at your analytics, if you look at your top performing posts month to month, you will realize that sometimes what you think may be performing well may actually be the other way around, or what performs well on one platform may not perform so well on the other platform. So it really is an eye-opener when it comes to the analytics and the measuring aspect of it. So how do you create a social media strategy? So if you already have a presence, a great place to start, this is where we start our clients, is to start with an audit. Now, social media audit the word audit is another word that scares small businesses, because the word audit kind of takes them into the CRA and the tax and all that aspect of it. But an audit is a great tool because it allows you to see what is working on your basically social media platforms, what is not working, what can be improved as well. So when we do a social media audit for our clients, we basically start from as if we're one of their clients and searching for them online. And then we even tell them how hard it was to find them on the different social media platforms, or how easy it was to find them as well. I had an audit recently done, and it was impossible for me to find this person on Google or on Instagram, because they have different names for their businesses on those two platforms versus what they have in the other one. So that's very important, the searchability and how easy it is for people to find you as well. And then we basically also go into how the platforms are set up, their bios, and then we get into the content, the strategy, the hashtags, and then like the engagement, all that of it, and how it actually, all of the findings and how it aligns with what they're looking from their social media as well. So they may be thinking that this is what their goal is from social media marketing, but then what they're posting and what they're doing is completely doing the opposite. So an audit is an eye opener, because it allows them to basically see how what they're doing is not aligning with what they're putting out there, or what they're doing behind the scene, or what could be their business goals is not aligning with their social media goals, or how they're representing themselves online. So again, for somebody that has a already social media presence and want to create a strategy, this is a great starting point. Now, there are people that can, there are self audits where you can quickly go through the stuff to do it yourself, or you can hire a professional. Like what we do for a lot of our clients is we actually conduct the audit for them ourselves, and then we actually sit down with them and present the audits and then answer their questions as well, because this also will give them a direction of how their social media in general will look like. Now, if you are basically says, okay, we've done an audit, we found it, and now we're ready to sit down and actually create a strategy. So the next thing that I ask is about their goals. Now, I want to make sure that the goals align with what they're looking for in their business as well, because a lot of the times I find that basically for small businesses, they don't have specific business goals. And then they don't have clear social media goals. Then actually that ties them into, they don't know what to post, because they don't have goals that aligns with what they're supposed to be doing or posting on promoting as well. So they're all kind of tied in, connected. So setting specific goals for social media and versus their business is very similar. So understanding those goals are very important. So if you're looking to create a social media strategy and you don't have an overall goals for your business from a marketing aspect, it's important to start with that and then transfer those goals of how I'm going to utilize social media to get to those. So another thing that I see as well is the goals are not clear. We have people coming to us that they want to get thousands of followers overnight because, hey, they're an author and the traditional book agency want them to get a bunch of followers overnight because they're doing a pitch. This is something that, again, you just can't have just a quick bunch of followers overnight happening. It's just not possible. It doesn't happen. So again, having a strategy would help them with that. But they're also not clear. They just say, well, that author has this many followers. We just want followers. They don't have a set time. They don't have a specific goals. So what we want to do is we help them to come up with basically SMART goals. I'm sure you've heard of SMART goals that can be applied in other areas of goal setting, but it can also be very beneficial for social media goal setting as well. So you want to be specific, the specific aspect of it, you need to be clear. So for a social media, maybe, let's say I want to get 200 followers on my Instagram in 3 months. So that's just an example of a goal. So the measure aspect of it, that the metric is the 200 followers. Now, attainable, it should be within reach. The reason I say that, I have people that want like 1,000 followers, let's say, in 3 months, but then they have zero budget for paid advertising. They don't have a lot of time to post, but they want to, that's their goal. So you want to make sure that what you're setting as a goal, it's something that it is within reach. Because as a small business owners, the two valuable basically assets we have is our time, and then there's that money and budget. So if you feel like you don't have the time to invest in doing that, let's say your own social media marketing, and then you don't have the budget to hire somebody, a goal like that will not work. It's just going to set them up for failure. And then they basically says, well, I had set up goals, or, and then it never works. Social media doesn't work. So we want to make sure that whatever a business is setting up for goal, it's within their reach based on the budget that they're talking about, or the amount of time that they have that they want to invest into social media marketing. And then the next point is relevant. So it ties back to your overall business goals, which I mentioned that as well. So it needs to tie back to your overall business goals, because you can have a completely separate goals on social media and then a separate goal for your business, because the whole point of social media marketing is it needs to help your business grow, but you're just using social media, which is a tool, to do that. So it has to tie in with your overall goals. And then the time frame for the completion of your goal. So we always make sure that we have basically time aspect attached to it, of how many months it takes them to attain those goals. Now, the example that I give is just for somebody that's looking that they may want to grow their followers. And then there's other people that they may want to basically generate leads, which gets into like paid advertising. The generating leads may be like they want to get this many sales from their social media platform by this time. That may be their goal. But now you don't want to just say sales. So for example, if you have multiple services, you may want to say, well, I want to get this many basically clients from social media for this specific services. So the way I do it in my business, I basically go based on the services that I have, that is my focus services for that month or for the next 3 months. And then based on that, I set my goals. So when I am saying I want to get 3 clients for this specific service in like 3 months, let's say, then I have already basically, it's very clear, right? Because then it's easy for me to go back and say, did I reach the goal or not? But we can't just say sales, because it can, again, if you have multiple services, it may look very different. And then for product businesses, it's completely different. Now, based on setting these goals, this kind of basically set the tone for the rest of the plan itself, because now we will see at what goals are there, and then how that will fit with the content, and then that will fit with the paid advertising. Like if somebody's looking for leads and they're being aggressive in their goal with the leads, then paid advertising become very important as part of the strategy itself. So not the layout of a strategy may be very similar, but then if all of us have our own social media strategies, they may look very different, because our platforms may look different, our goals may look different, our content may look different as well. Like some of us, like I have clients that are only on LinkedIn. They have no presence on other social media platforms. So their strategy would be specifically on LinkedIn. It would be very different. So just based on that, everybody's based on their goals, strategies will look different. The next one is to learn everything you can about your audience. Now, this is a challenge that I see a lot when I am helping clients, even with their management. So in order for us to help clients manage their social media platforms, we need to understand, because we're posting content, and this is why a strategy is so important, we need to understand their target market, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you put content out there that resonates with your target market. So if you don't understand the target market, it gets very hard to basically create content. And that's the problem that a lot of small business owners have. The focus is really on, oh, I come up with ideas. It takes me forever to create content. It's because either they don't have a plan or they don't understand their target market. Now, when I talk about a successful social media strategy, most of the strategies, that the framework is the same. It's the amount of work that you put in, of how specific and concise you want it to be. So how much work you're going to put in into understanding your target market. So a lot of the times, the target market question is more like branding question, where people think if they have a logo and a color or a font, their branding is complete. There's so much more into a branding. So same thing with a target market. It's like, well, I know the age-ish from a certain thing, but then they're like, well, I may not want to, I want from, I don't know, 30 to thing, but then I don't want to also miss out on these people. So you need to do the work and be very specific of the target market that will help you with your goals. And then they may know the location, and that's all we get. So we may get just they are male or female. Maybe there's the age group. If they're a small business, local business in Durham, they may know the location. But what you want to do is you want to delve more into your target market. So a good place would be, for example, to book a session with a BACD advisor to kind of sit down and see who really is your target market, and more go into like the interests aspect of it, their job titles, their industries, their salaries, because that, depending on the type of business you are, it really makes a big difference. So for example, a lot of interior designers, they're looking for people with like disposable income, that they have a certain amount of income. So a certain platform may not be a good place for them, but they also have to think of their like buyers' behavior. How are they going to go search for your services? What are their pain points? What are like, those are all the things that you want to keep in mind. And also a lot of us, we think we only may have one target market. So we focus on that. So these are some additional stuff that you can think into as well. Is like, how did they communicate? Which platforms did they hang out? What like values they have, and how that ties into your business, their education, their hobbies. Would they be online at a certain time? Like those are all important. And what are some stuff that they spend their money on? Like what magazines did they read? Those are all important things to think about as well from a target aspect of it. For example, I have some clients that come that say that the way most of their clients come to them is just based on, because of the industry they're in, is they are found through Google searches. And that's why Google paid advertising become very important to them. So then for them, they have kind of understood their target market's behavior. They know that a lot of the times when they need basically help that their services can help them with, they will go, instead of social media, they will go to Google. So this is where they want to focus on. But they have a way in their client intake process that they ask the clients, how did they basically heard about them? And that's how they know. So then a lot of their focus would be on Google, where for us, like for clients who may be social media related, you want to understand these. First of all, if you get into paid advertising on social media, these are very important. So again, when we run paid ads, all of this information becomes very valuable, because we want to basically target people based on, like, you can target people based on their interests, based on where they're located, all of this from a Facebook ad, and their lifestyle as well. But in general, from a content aspect and which platforms to choose, that becomes also, this is very relevant as well, because this will help you as well, which platforms to hang out on and which ones to completely ignore. And then also like what kind of content to put out there. So in terms of the platforms, what I suggest is you don't need to be on all of them. And this is something that I always, a lot of the other experts may not agree with me, but you do not need to be on all platforms. Just because somebody else is on it, you want to make sure that you're on the platforms that most of your target market is on. So again, if you don't know this, the struggle is basically that which platform should I be on? And then also you can have a primary platform and a secondary platform, which means one of the platforms are your focus platforms, and then you may have another one that may also have your target market, but it may not be the highest amount of basically people that is within your target market as well. Like in case of my client that I mentioned, who has basically walked away from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. He's just closed his accounts. and only focuses on LinkedIn and it's working really well is because he's done his target market research so well that he's decided that the type of people that he wants to work with or seeking his services, they are not on those platforms. And he's okay not to have a presence there. And he just puts all his focus on LinkedIn. And that's what is the work that you would do. This is work, understanding your target market, but it can actually really help you to stay focused with the platform itself. And it does bring results as well. Like for him, he's actually getting business off of LinkedIn without doing any paid advertising, which again, the type of service he has is it's a B2B, but it's a higher end service as well. Also, you want to have, if you're in a business that may have different target market based on your services, it's okay to have different target markets as well. A lot of us, we feel like we need to have one target market and stick with it. So for example, in my own business, I do have multiple target markets. I have a target market for my social media management services. And then my target market for my basically social media coaching and training is slightly different because the people that are interested in coaching and training are more, so they're interested, they DIY, they want to do it themselves, but they're also from the business aspect of how long they've been in business, they are more a startup. So they're in the beginning of their business versus the social media management clients are more at least 3-4 years into the business itself. So what basically the type of content that I would work for one will not work for the other one. So I need to understand both of them. Now, BACD is one of the places that you can go for this target market. I know HubSpot has a free tool that you can create personas. So your clients' personas where you can even name them and then have an age group and then have interests for them too. And you can create multiple one of those on their website as well. So that's another great place to go. But if you're in business for a long time, doing business in general, you would, over the years, you can also get very clear as well and specific on your target market based on talking to them, understanding them, and also who you want to work with as well. So once you have basically found out who your target market is exactly, now it's time for you to choose your platforms. And that's why the target market exercise comes before choosing the platforms, because it really determines which platforms to be on. It's to choose your platforms and to create a social media content strategies. Now, when you're creating a social media content strategies, you do want to do a competitor analysis before doing that to understand what your competition is doing on social media, and then also what kind of content that's resonated with the audience and that they're doing, which ones are doing well, which one is not. So choosing your platforms, like I mentioned earlier, I don't suggest that you need to be on all social media platforms unless you have a social media marketing team and you have a big budget that they can do it for you. You want to make sure that you basically, I say, be on at least 2 of them. If you have a platform where your target market may be on those 2. So you may have a primary and a secondary, which means that you basically create the same type of content for the primary and then it goes into the secondary and you spend more time on your primary basically platform as well. In addition to that, in terms of the platforms, a good tip would be to, like, when you're doing your competitor analysis and looking at your competitions online, see which platforms they're dominating and which platform they're lacking. So if they are basically not paying attention to one platform because maybe they don't want to spend a lot of time there, it's also a good way to see if you can become the dominant in that particular platform as well. So that kind of also helps you with the decision aspect of it as well. Now, once you have picked your platform, the next step would be to basically set your posting schedule. Setting your posting schedule is, so the experts recommend, there's people that may want to say they want to come and say they want to do posting every day. Some people may want to do once a week. I don't really recommend that. That's minimum. I have found, based on basically managing a lot of social media platforms, this basically our most popular package, and also what we see a lot of results is 3 times a week, basically posting. But for somebody that may say they don't have time to commit to that frequency, is then you may go less, or if you have a lot of time, you may go more. Basically, the challenge that I see with small business owners when it comes to their posting frequencies, which is deciding how many times a week you're going to post or how many times a month you're going to post on certain platforms. You want to decide that before you even go to create a content scheduling, because a lot of us, we just jump into the content. You need to focus on a strategy, and the posting is frequency is part of the strategy. So you want to look at, am I able to generate quality content with this frequency? Because I have clients that says, well, I did 5 posts a week, or I have people that come to me, well, I've been posting 5 times a week, but I'm not really getting anything from social media. Nobody's engaging with my posts. And then I look at the quality of their posts or what they're posting. There's no value to it. It doesn't align with what they're looking for. It's poor quality. It's rush job. They are missing on hashtags, let's say on Instagram. They're missing on a lot of stuff. Their content may not have a hook in terms of what they're writing. They also don't have a plan. So yes, you can post every day if you don't care about the quality of it. So for me, we basically focus on quality content versus quantity. So I would rather basically have posts that are strategic, posts that it aligns with the overall goals of the business itself, with the social media strategy goals as well, than just posting because we want to post because the algorithm wants posts or the competition is posting. So this is something that, again, you need to really look at, do I have the time as a business owner to do it myself? If I don't have the time, do I have the budget to hire it out? And then even hiring that, we have people that will come and say they want posting 7 days a week. And then they look at our packages and they're like, oh no, that's not in my budget. Then they go down. So based on what experts are saying, I just say, go based on what you can commit to as a business owner, because again, when you are not able to do it, it will get you to set up for failure. And then you don't want to basically do anything with social media at all. Because if you've committed to 5 times a week and you can't do that, you will basically feel bad for not posting. And then you don't want to show up at all online. And this is something that I've seen a lot over the years. And then also determine if you're going to blog on your website or not, because you want to make sure the goal of social media in general should be to drive the traffic to your website or to collect subscribers for your email. A lot of us, we're so caught up with the followers. Yes, they are important, but you need to find a way to turn these followers into email subscribers. That's what I always tell clients should be the ultimate goal, because at the end of the day, we've had people's social media platforms shut down overnight. They've just completely gone, and then you have to start over. So the goal is that you need to turn the followers into subscribers, so you have their email addresses. And if anything to happen to your social media platforms, you have a way of connecting with them, especially even if you're starting over. Even if something happens to your accounts, if you have an email list, you can always go back and ask them to say that you have basically created a new account. So blogging on the website, again, you want to do that because that will also become part of your social media content strategy. Because if you're doing regularly blogging on your website, what is that going to look like? And then how many times you're doing it? And then you need to have a strategy of how you're going to basically promote those blog posts now on social media. So it's very important to know if this is something you're doing at this point or you're not. And then the next thing is to decide if you will share the same content across all your platforms. So this is something that most of the businesses will share similar content across all the platforms. It's the most basically time effective, but cost effective as well, because basically a big chunk of the time and their budget will go into creating content and coming up with the content. This is where most of our time going when we're managing social media as well. So if you're creating different content for different platforms, it's going to be a lot of work, and even hiring it out could also cost a lot. So you want to make sure that you may tweak the content slightly for different platforms. So what do I mean by that? So for example, what we do is we don't share the same content in all platforms at the same time. So for the reason that you have people that are following you on Facebook and they may be following you on Instagram, now you're hitting them with the same content at 2 times at the same time. It is very annoying. So what we do is when we do our content planning for the platforms, we slightly change the days. So what may go on a Monday on Instagram, it may not go on Monday on Facebook. It may go on Tuesday or on Wednesday on Facebook. And also I see a lot of people where they just, Instagram allows you to share the content directly into your Facebook page, where you just have that share button on and it just goes to your Facebook page. So if you're using your hashtags on your caption in your copy, when you're hitting share from Instagram to Facebook, all the hashtags goes into Facebook. Now, Facebook has tried a lot over the years to kind of make hashtags important on Facebook, but it's not really been a big thing for Facebook. What the hashtags does on Facebook, it's very distracting, which means that the messaging that you have in your caption, like the copy that you have, people are not going to pay attention to that. I'm going to look at the hashtags because all the hashtags are in blue right in my face. So now I'm not going to look at your graphic, your image. I'm just looking at the hashtags because that's where the eyes goes. And then same thing with the copy. So the important stuff you're putting out there, it's basically disappears. Also, I have read some recent research by some scheduling companies that have said that content that's shared from Instagram to Facebook, if it's shared basically through just a button shared, not manually entered into, like uploaded into Facebook, or they don't do that well as well. So from a basically algorithm aspect of it, they don't do so well versus if you just schedule them directly on Facebook. So that's something that you also want to keep in mind. Yes, it's automation, it saves us time, but then if we're being strategic about it, then it's not a good strategy to have. I mean, for those of you that may just say, you know what, I just need to put a content out there, it's good, you can do that. But for anybody that's being more strategic, I do not recommend that at all. So that's why I say if you want to decide, so there would be a little plan of, okay, if we're putting the same content across all those platforms, how are this all going to look like? Like, for example, if you're doing reels, let's say you have a piece of reel that you may want to do on Facebook and Instagram. It may be okay on Facebook and Instagram, but now if you want to take that reel and put it on basically LinkedIn or Twitter, which is X now, you may want to adjust the sizing to those platforms because they don't have real sizing. They have the square video sizing, whatever their basically platform size formats are. So those are some things that you do want to think about. Or if you want to do a carousel post on Instagram, which is the multiple slides, you may say maybe how I can redo this into a one page post on, let's say, on Facebook. Or even the language that we use where we say, I've seen so many people's posts on Facebook that says link in bio. Now, if your target market doesn't have an Instagram and their language, like they only hang out on Facebook, they have no idea what link in bio means because Facebook doesn't have that feature. So you want to make sure that you add a link to that one where link in bio is a language for Instagram. So those are some of the things that could be small, but could actually be very important to think about. And then you come up with your content categories. Now, your content categories are basically, you may have heard of it out there, your content pillars. It could be your content buckets. So these are all based on the goal that you've set in the beginning of how the content is going to look like and who your target market is. So you may have a content bucket for educational content. You may have a category for promotional content. You may have one for if you're an organization and you want to kind of show the culture of the organization, you may have one for that. Or if you're a personal brand, you want to have one that infuses your brand, like personality into the brand, which may be a bit of personal content. So the content bucket, it just makes it a lot easier to come up with ideas under those categories. And then from there, you can take those ideas and then turn them into content. And then also in here, if you like in your content strategy, you can also focus on like how many stories you're doing. Are you going to do reels? Or are you going to get into videos to create videos? Or how many carousel posts, like for each platform that you're going to focus on, you kind of will also have a little plan for those of how those pieces of content going to look like, in addition to where the content categories are more about the content prompts of what they're going to be. So for example, Educational content is good for building trust. So if you want brand awareness or you want to target cold people, like people that have never heard of your audience, educational content would be great because you want them to see you as an expert in your field. So then what can educational content be? A lot of people just jump into tips. The way you want to look at it is like, it could be a fact, it could be a stat, it could be a hack you're giving, but then also how you're going to present this content. So it could be like, okay, we're going to do a tip here, maybe it's an image, but in the following week, maybe we can get somebody from the organization or the business owner can do a video that educating, or depending on the industry, like if you're a makeup artist, you can show how to do a certain makeup thing. Like industries like myself, I may show how to use a piece of Canva or how to create a logo on Canva. That's all basically educational content, but it could be in different formats as well. So the basically the categories, it just helps to categorize the things that you want to follow and how as a content, and then foundations, and then how it can tie in, but the categories will tie into your goals. And then you basically from there start creating the content. Now this part can, like, I could have another presentation on coming up with content categories. How do you do that? Or the creating your content aspect of it, because that could take a lot of time. So then you just get starting into creating your content. Now, basically, you want to report and adjust regularly. So this is kind of the last step in your social media strategy. So what does report means? It's basically your analytics. Like I said earlier, nobody wants to look at their analytics. So it's very important if you have a strategy to look at your analytics, because the goal of a strategy is not it's something that's set in stone that you want to create it and just leave it. The goal is to look at it and then measure it and look at it. Is this successful? What areas of the strategy can be changed? And then how we can change it. So for example, if you want to be aggressive with generating leads on social media, then I would definitely suggest that there need to be some paid advertising included in your social media strategy. And then from there, within that strategy, you have to say what is the budget, and then what is the goal of the paid advertising. So the paid advertising will have its own plan of what the goals are for that, because that will really be important in terms of how you're going to do ads on social media. So by the way, just like boosting posts on Instagram and Facebook, a lot of people think is not necessarily the strategic advertising that social media can do for you. Is there's more to it where you can be very strategic. So a lot of the people that come to us, they're looking either for lead gen from social media, so they want to generate leads for their business, or brand awareness, or it could be a combination of two, or they want to increase their subscribers, so their email list. So they may not have an email list, or they have an email list, but it's not enough people and they want to increase that. And then they may have a funnel there. So there would be another plan of, okay, we're going to take people from social media, add it to this list. And then what are we going to do with those people? And then how are we going to nurture the leads? So when our job is more to kind of get them those subscribers. So so that can be added additionally to your strategy as well if a business owner says they have the budget for advertising. And then again, we will have to sit there and see what a realistic budget would be based on their goals as well. And that's why it's so important to make sure that your goals are attainable. And then reporting is, so looking at your analytics, you want to look at your, basically the platforms itself give enough analytics for a small business owner to be able to understand. Because what we look at a lot of the times is like, oh, the likes, that's what we're looking at. The likes, everybody wants to look for the likes and the followers. There's more to it, right? There's reach. Like how many people did actually this post reach? Out of how many people, like for example, on Instagram, how many of those people were non-followers? So people that haven't followed you, but actually still looked at your content, which were your top posts, because based on those top posts, you can see and say, you know what, this is working and we can do more of this. And then you look at your overall engagement, like why is there not engagement in general into your content? Is it, the way you're presenting your content? Is it the brand? Like all of that stuff is important. So basically your social media strategy is not something that you create and then you leave aside. It's something that you will adjust regularly. So I recommend, so when I work with a client to come up with a strategy, it's basically we do a 90 days. We may look at their overall yearly thing, but they like to focus on the 90 days. So 1 quarter of strategies. And then from there, they go back, look at the strategy, see if they've actually accomplished the goal that was it. And then if you didn't accomplish the goals, why was it? So then you go back and you try to basically dissect the strategy of why it didn't happen. Maybe the business owner said they were going to do it and then they didn't get the time, they got busy. So there's a lot of other factors that can go into that as well. And then what are some things that I want you guys to kind of walk away from a basically reminder aspect of it? So you want to make sure you diversify your content. So diversifying your content could be, like I mentioned, it could be the formatting of your content where you want to create a combination of like carousel posts, images. Basically, it could be like your own images, maybe your team members' images. You want to test different things to see what works, what doesn't. Now, for people that may say, I had a conversation with another client recently where she is hesitant to do reels. And I want to mention this. If you are shy to do reels on basically video shy and you don't want to do reels, or if you feel like you need to do reels, but now you need to like jump on these trends, you should not be thinking about that. So if you're just starting, just do plain reels where you're talking and giving valuable content. A lot of people I find, especially women, they get caught up in like, oh, there's this trend that this person is doing and this, and I can't do that. So then I'm just not going to do reels at all. If you're doing reels, you just want to make sure you find a well-lit area and focus on the content, right? In terms of basically, don't worry about that. You're not doing this silly stuff. You're not doing the dances or whatever the trend is, because truth be told, I don't do that in my business. You won't see me dancing in reels. It's not going to happen. And then part of it is also, so the part of it that I made that decision is also has to do with my target market. My target market is not going to look, it's not important to them. So, and then also, we also want to think of the viral aspect of it. So everybody's looking at and saying, oh, this person's reel is going viral, or which means it's getting tons of views, or this person's reels, they look at it and says getting tons of views. So my question to those people are, how many clients did you get out of that reel? Or how many clients did you get out of that piece of content? Because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm in business to actually get clients. So I'm not here to like get views or go viral. So even in terms of the following, if you have a small following, but they're very engaged and they're like quality followers that are going to do business with you, they're actually contacting you for work, it's okay to not have this big following. So diversifying your content in terms of the reels aspect of it. Yes, if you want to do video, go ahead and do it. If you can't, a lot of the times for our clients that are busy, we just create reels from Canva. So we do like stock images reels. We just do those. So the goal for me is, yes, it's good if we get their face out there, but they can. But what we do is we want to make sure we diversify the content and then have the algorithm to be happy, because the algorithm wants reels. Okay, we're going to put a reel format. We're going to put a trending music. We're going to do all that stuff. It's not going to be a person's face talking, or they're not doing silly stuff there, because again, for them, that's not even important. So you really have to think about what I want to do, how relevant is it to my target market, who I want to attract. And then be consistent. So consistency, again, same thing, back to my points, is once you come up with a posting frequency, it makes it very easy to be consistent, because now you have a basically committed plan, and you know when you're posting, what you're posting, and how many times you're posting, and what that's going to look like. And then use a scheduling tool. So Instagram and Facebook have their own free scheduling tools within them. I always, recommend go ahead and start using that before you going and creating tons, like wasting a lot of time registering for tools that may not be helpful because you're just shopping around or, trying different things. Just use them. The reason I say to use a scheduling tool or use scheduling, because I want to make sure that you have a plan ahead of time so it doesn't affect you and you're not posting on the fly, which a lot of people do, or they may go on a vacation and then now all of a sudden their social media is completely into a full alt because they don't have a plan ahead of time and they haven't scheduled content. And then if you can explore paid advertising, very important. I have worked with a lot of clients and you can get results. So a lot of people say, I've tried social media advertising or Google Ads, it doesn't work. So if they have done it themselves or they've just pressed the boost button, it's not the same as actually coming up with a strategy, aligning it to your goals, and then getting results from it. And then also coming with a plan of what we're doing with these leads now that we have them. And then the last point is create your content ahead of time, which goes back to what I've just mentioned. I can emphasize on the importance of creating content ahead of time. Now, again, I understand if you don't have a strategy, you won't be able to create it ahead of time because you don't know what to say. You just kind of go every day. You need to create it ahead of time. So right now, in November this week, we're working on clients' December content. They will go out already to be approved. So all of the December content is done ahead of time. So that's how basically the way we work. We just basically, I ask other small business owners to be, because it really takes away the stress from the social media aspect of it, but it also allows you to see results because you're not posting things because you're in a rush. It's just quality content and it's very strategic to what your clients are working, basically what they're looking for. And then for today, I do have a special offer for people that are attending today. I'm actually offering a full social media audit of up to 3 platforms for the price of $299, which is basically looking at all their social media platforms and then setting a 1-hour Zoom call recorded that I can present my findings and answer their questions as well. I'm not looking at the chat, so I don't know if there are any questions, but I have intentionally set aside a few minutes for people that may have questions and they want to ask. Are there any questions? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself.
Hey, Orzala, it's Mil. Question. I know you were talking about the scheduling tools for Instagram and Facebook. Is there any you recommend for LinkedIn?
So I really like Metricool. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't. What was it called?
Metricool. I will put it in the chat. I will put for you guys in the chat. It has, I think the paid version may have the LinkedIn. The reason I like that is because it has your competitor, like you can literally put like a competition, like competitor analysis and stuff like that. They can watch for you as well. And then also it has a really detailed reporting. I'm gonna stop sharing and see if I can find a website for it. But do you know that LinkedIn does its own scheduling?
I have heard of that. I haven't used it yet.
Um,
So I didn't
so
know if you were going to talk about that and how good that actually is.
so I actually use that for my client and I have not had any issues with it.
Okay.
It's for the professional basically profile.
Yeah.
We don't have any issues with it. It's been pretty good. It's working fine.
Okay. I'll try that one as well.
So try that and see. Like I am always a big believer of like see what you can do with the free options, and then if not, you can always look into paid. What I don't encourage is like shopping around. You know how we sign up and then we try it for a week, play around with it. It's such a waste of,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't work for us, and then we move on to the next thing. But the LinkedIn scheduling has been really good for us.
Okay. I'll give that a try. Thank you.
I have the link for Metricool.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I have a question from Catherine. Organized by Catherine. She wants to know if we should use a corporate profile, so a professional, like a corporate page, or a personal profile on LinkedIn. So, based on my own experience, it's easy to get more reach and engagement using your professional profile. Corporate pages are a bit harder to grow on LinkedIn. You can put content there, and then you can move it over to like share it to your professional profile, but it's not the same as directly posting it on your professional profile. One of the ways that I find my LinkedIn has grown my it's like if you're hiring, a lot of people on LinkedIn will follow a company page if there's job opportunities. So they're kind of looking for that, so they want to stay connected in case there are any listings or postings happening. But I would recommend sticking to the professional profile, but his LinkedIn strategy is a little bit different than like Facebook and Instagram. So somebody says, when looking to see which posts are successful, what should I prioritize? Engage, likes, shares, or reach? I normally look at reach because reach is basically like, so there's impressions that they give you. So impressions means it's the amount of times that they've shown the same content. It could be to the same person. Sometimes we see the same content multiple times. Facebook does that. Reach is what's unique people that is reached. So that's more important to look at. I don't look at the likes and the shares. That will just give you your engagement overall thing, but I look at reach because the reach will determine based on how many likes and shares you have. Like the more interaction a content has, the reach goes higher. Because all of a sudden these platforms thinks that the basically that particular post is valuable and more people are interested, and they'll show it to more people. So I would definitely look into reach. But then there's other analytics that you look at, it just not the like, there's multiple things that you want to look at. And do you have a promotion for companies looking for help with a social media strategy? So somebody's, I guess, looking for, so I don't do specific promotion. A place that I start everyone that wants to work with me, if they already have a social media presence, it's with an audit. So that's where is the starting point for anybody that wants to work with us. If they want to do a strategy, because I can't come up with a strategy unless I look at what is happening. It's a more in-depth look at what's happening in their platforms. I don't know if there's any other questions.
I have one quickie. This is Freda. Hi. First of all, thank you. Really good. I put together like a minute video and want to put those on my posts, right?
Oh, okay. Is that for video reels?
Yeah, I have just 1 minute video that I did with my Microsoft PowerPoint. It's very simple, just it's a book I'm trying to promote, and it turns the pages and it goes for about a minute. And then at the end, it says, go to Amazon and buy it. Can I take that as a post? Just slip the video in the post, right?
You can actually create a reel out of that and then like add trending music. Are you talking in the video?
No, it's just turning the page of a book, and it has it's got like 5 different, like, what am I, slideshow, it turns the page of a book 5 times, 5 pages. And then in the end, it says, this is a beautiful book for you to give to your grandchild or child. That's it. It's a children's book.
Yeah. So I like, if you're posting it on Instagram and Facebook, you can create a reel out of it. I recommend, if you want to add like text to the video, I recommend using Canva to do some editing. You also, if you're doing it as a reel, it's also basically reels that you put like trending music. You see people have music in their videos that actually helps with the reachability of it because the algorithm likes that. So you can add trending music to it as well and add it. The important thing is like what you say in the video in terms of text, because you want to have something text-wise in your video to catch my attention or your target market's attention. And then also what do you say in your copy?
Okay.
So your CTA, which is call to action, is you want them to go buy the book. So you may want to say that in your copy at the end as well. What do you want them to do?
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, that's how you can present that one.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, it's It's Metricool, which if you're using it for Facebook, I'm gonna put it back. So if you're using it for Facebook and Instagram, and actually it does posting to Google My Business, that's why I like it as well. Which again, this is not a Google My Business workshop, but you want to treat your Google My Business listing as a social media platform and make sure you do regular posting there as well. So don't set it and just forget about it. If you want to optimize it, it actually does scheduling to your Google My Business, which is pretty cool. Because you don't have to manually go and post, you don't remember it, but you can actually schedule content to Google My Business as well. So that's another reason I like it as well, this particular tool. It does I think under the free plan, it does Google My Business, Facebook and Instagram. I'm not sure, it does TikTok as well, so you just have to look. But I think LinkedIn is under the next level, which is paid. But it's a pretty cool tool basically. Or you can use direct scheduling through Facebook in the Meta Suite, which I find sometimes it can be a little bit glitchy when Facebook is making changes. Is there any other question?
No, I don't see any additional questions. Any other question? Last call? Or where do you get Canva? Somebody wants to know.
Canva. So Canva is another tool that I can just put the link in. It's just canva.com, I believe. And then you can do a lot under the free version, but there's also a paid version for it as well. So that's also there. I mean, you can do a lot of editing. I find it's a lot easier to do it. So when we do Reels editing for clients, we do it all basically ahead of time, because I talked about how we have everything planned ahead of time. So then all the editing and everything happens in Canva ahead of time. So we don't do directly while we shoot the video into Instagram. Just don't add any music from Canva to the reel. Just use the trending music directly from Instagram.
Okay, I think that's it. Orzala, thank you so much. I'm glad you're available to do today's presentation based on what I've seen in the chat. Everyone seemed to have enjoyed it. It was informative, and I'm sure Marlene will agree with me that it's awesome to see where you've come over the years. And we're both very, very proud of you, because we've been part of your journey to get you, to see you grow to the person that you are today. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yes, I will hold my promise that we're going to try to connect, over the holidays.
Sounds good.
But for everyone else that turned out today, thank you so much. I mean, the Do It in Durham, it just doesn't work if we don't have the attendee. I know Liz is off, but Liz has already completed 24 events, and she's off to number 25. So, it's crazy as it may sound, but it's good to see that somebody actually took advantage of Do It in Durham and actually got, 25 events in. So, as for everyone else that's on here, thank you again for your participation. I do believe that there will be emails sent out to you, just a survey to get your opinion about how you felt about Do It in Durham and what was your favorite event. So this information will just help us to be even better for next year, because every year we try to outdo ourselves. So your input will help us to be much better next year as well. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And keep in mind, though, that as your business continues to grow, when you're hitting those milestones, let us know at BACD. We'd like to celebrate our clients. So if you're having milestones that you want to share, or grand opening events or anything like that, let us know so that we could also participate and help you celebrate. So I'm going to be signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
thank you. Have a good day.
Yes. Thank you for coming on out.
Bye.
Thanks, Marlon. Thanks, Orzala.
Take care now.
Bye.
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 Grass is red, grass is blue.